Welcome everybody to the Antonio Crow Show, and today we have a very special guest. Uh, I call him a child prodigy. I've been knowing forever,
I'm
uh,
old now.
right? Well, oh yeah, well yeah, grown ass man now. Always been a man though, a young man to a grown man. Uh, Prodigy though, always in tune to sound, always in tune to production. None other than Marquise Patience. What's up, man?
What's up, man? Yeah, I think I'm about the age you were when I met you now.
Oh,
Yeah,
imagine,
yeah. I think I'm a little older than you were when I met you. It's
oh,
crazy.
okay, okay. And we did a lot of work back then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Every night after I came home from school, we was on it.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
My
So we're
parents
gonna
be
start.
around.
Yeah, but I really wanted to have this conversation with you about audio engineering because it's one where I can ask questions because honestly, your level of expertise is above my bandwidth, right?
Mhm.
So, but I always wanted to have this conversation with you because it's very important to the music industry and sound industry, right?
Yeah.
And so you are a professional in the business. So that's another reason why this is not just a simple conversation. It's pretty intense. So, first question is, what is audio engineering?
So audio engineering is essentially the manipulation and the build of audio using science, acoustics, and electronics. Um, in today's era, we're kind of mostly just pretty much using electronics, at least like the newer cats coming up. They don't really get into the science as much because technology has advanced it that it makes it a little easier. But I mean, it's very serious and it's important that people know. Um, in the early days, audio engineers they wore lab coats in the studio.
Okay.
Yeah, it was that serious, like scientist lab coats, and you couldn't even go into the control room if you weren't an engineer. So it's very serious to know that background in history about the audio and the science behind it, because even if a computer is doing the math for you, the math is still being done. So, um, and knowing all of that stuff has a big effect on it. So I'll put it to like this in more layman terms of what audio engineer does is we get it. It's called engineering because we're building complex signal flows and we're building a structure in the same way that um, any other field of of engineering they're building. So if you take an architect, he he visualizes the structure that he wants to have built, and then the engineer comes and he builds the structure. It's the same way with audio engineering. A producer or a musician, the creator, they envision the sound they want, and the audio engineer's job is to cultivate that sound.
Nice, nice. So, why did you get into audio engineering?
Well, um, I guess I'll have to start with how I got into music in the first place, and just audio in general. So, me and my friend growing up, we had little schemes every other week. We was cutting grasses, doing lemonade stands, anything we could do to get money. And one day he handed me a music program, and the music program, was like, this is our new thing, and we've been on that ever since. And so that's my lead into music. That's music production. And eventually, of course, I got into audio engineering because, like you just said earlier, they go hand in hand. And so that leads from me going to engineering and then spreading out and getting further and further in audio and moving away from just music to just audio in general for live, for film, for everything.
Hmm. Hmm. So yeah, what music program was that? Do you
What
remember?
music? Oh,
Yeah.
the one that he gave me FL Studio. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
well, it was called Fruity Loops at the time.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
called Fruity Loops at the time. Now everybody call it. They want to take the Fruity Loops out of it, just call it FL
Yeah.
Studio. But yeah,
Yeah. So is there like a cheat code to audio engineering? Because I'll just stop right there. Yeah.
no, go ahead, finish.
Yeah.
You had
The,
more you would say?
the more the more we advance in time, there's these companies that are like, send me your song, and we will EQ it and master it and send it back to you in 2 days. Like they don't even have the files. I'm not sure. Maybe they just take the MP3. How are they mastering a radio ready song or a commercial ready song without having the files?
Okay. So let me answer those separately because that's two questions mixed in. One was master and one was cheat code. Um, so the cheat code is two things. One is understanding your parameters and your signal flow and the tools that you have, like understanding how they work, not just understanding how to use them, but how they function. The second part is understanding there's no cheat code. Everybody's looking for a cheat code, looking for a quick way. So what that does, it puts you in this box. When you get to, hey, I got to get this plug in that's going to just make it easy for me, or like you said, I got to get this service and this service is going to do it for me. And whatever it is, I'm not saying it doesn't work. What I'm saying is it puts you in a box. What happens if you don't have that plugin? What happens if you don't have that device? What happens if you're not in this situation? What happens if that company goes out of business? You no longer can do anything. The cheat code is actually being able to walk into any room with equipment, hardware, and software that you've never used before, working in a field that you've never worked in before, dealing with audio you've never dealt with before, and being able to perform just as fast and as quickly as you would with all the stuff that you're used to and that you normally do, to the point that the people who use it every day is asking you for tips. That's the cheat code because everybody's looking at you like, oh my God, like, how you do this, how you get like, and you're just like, yeah, I just did, this is normal to me. It's kind of like whatever. It's like, this ain't even what I use. I've never used this before, you
So do
know?
you have an example of like some equipment that you just walked in a room and then you were just able to adapt?
I mean, the reality is when I tour, when I do shows, um, these are equipment that I can never afford. They're houses, and man, I can never use this stuff. So oftentimes, the first time I'm using it is the first time I'm working on. So the first time I'm working is the first time I'm using it. Nobody's knowing that. Nobody's like, it's just I come in, I know my stuff, so I'm like, all right, where's this, and that. I know that's what I need to find. I need to find this, and that. And once I find those things, it's smooth sailing because all it is, they're the same equipment, same stuff, just located different ways, doing it in a different way. But they're all trying to do the same thing and they're doing it through the same. So all you have to do is find this, find that, find that. Okay, there's all the things that makes this work. Now let me do what I do. So um yeah, you have to be prepared because at any moment you're put in a room with stuff that you don't own this stuff.
Yeah. So at one point, I think this is a good segue to that, knowing where things are at. One time I went to see Farrakhan speak in the 90s, and the mics weren't working.
Mhm.
And he was mad at the sound man and wanted to fire the sound man right away. So him not knowing who his His project was Mr. Farrakhan has to sound good. He doesn't sound good or else, right? So how do you go in and troubleshoot that situation at the beginning?
You talking about that specific situation? How do I troubleshoot the mic not working?
Yeah, like
Well, that would be the knowledge of signal flow, right? So I can't tell you how that specific instance because I'm not there, right? So I don't know what the signal flow was, but it would be tracing the signal flow, and it would be understanding, and you got to know how to follow other people's signal flows and follow your own. You can't just be like, I got to follow my own. You got to be able to walk up behind somebody, look and see this going into that, that's going out of that, into this thing. You got to understand how everything works from the moment the person speaks to it passes through the mic, to it passes through the cable, to it passes to the preamp, to it passes to the gain, to it passes to, you got to go through the whole chain, everything. Everything it goes in and out, when it goes out the inserts, when it goes out the EQ, when it goes out, everything that it passes through, you got to know how to trace it all back, because somewhere in there is what's causing the problem. It could be a lot of different things. So you can't, if you don't know where everything's coming, you can't trace it back and you can't solve that issue. So I'll put it in perspective of, like you said, I'll give you a real scenario where you said troubleshooting and being able, knowing where things are and being able to move real quick, right? So I was at a show, it was for Ray Shrimmer, right? And they like their stage loud. They like it insanely loud, right? And you don't, nowadays we use in-ears. We don't really do too much volume on the stage unless we have to. Like, we just, more for the feel, but we're listening in ears. That way the person at front of house can do a mix with that without being bothered by being so much noise already on the stage and he's trying to overpower the stage or having feedback issues. So we were trying to shift them to getting on in-ears because we wanted them to have less volume on stage. And so the way we did that, because if any speakers were there, if any sound was coming through, they would be like, bring the stage up, bring the volume up, bring it up. And like, so what we did is we had started disconnecting it. So the wedges and everything was up there, but we disconnected it. So in this scenario, it was a festival show. So we're using their system, their equipment. They were having issues with their wireless frequencies. So the in-ears were no good. I'm walking on stage while they dancing, trying to change the pack, trying to grab them. And then the manager says to me, forget it. Let's switch to the wedges. The wedges ain't even plugged in. I didn't even build a mix within mind of even using the wedges because we were never supposed to use it. Did I go like, oh, I wasn't prepared for this? No, I was like, bet. All right. I told the house engineer, I was like, plug me, put it up, got it in, built the mix, and we were solid. You know what that did for me? I got a call after, like, well, first off, I heard the person saying like, yo, you just switched up and got it right. Like, he was so impressed, right? I got a call. I can't remember who the artist is at this point, but I got a call. Basically, they wanted me to go out on tour with them after seeing that, because they were just impressed by me being able to handle that. And for me, it was just like, yo, anything happens, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
So you have to be prepared in that manner. You can't be like, oh, I was only prepared for no wedges. I was only prepared for be in-ears. You got to be, whatever happens, you got to be able, all right, no problem.
That's dope. So, I mean, I could build so many questions around. That's great. We're going to move on. What is a sound master of a recording?
All right. So, I'm going to do a little bit convoluted answer real quick because really a sound master is your final sum of all your tracks. So if you have 300 tracks and you're mixing to 7.1, your master would be the 7 channels plus the one sub channel. If you have, call it 150 tracks and you're mixing to stereo, that's going to be your final two sum of all your mix at 2 mono channels, right? There's always a master. The master is the sum of everything. Now, what you're probably referring to is a mastered audio, right? So, a mastered audio, the mastering process. So you're talking about the mastering process. So the mastering process would be balancing, um, would be manipulating the master sum. So you're manipulating the master sum to what should I say? To fit the delivery. So to put it in perspective, I'll do it if in music aspect. Um, Fitting the delivery, you can be taking the master sum of the mixes and you're manipulating the mix to match the other song. So no song is louder than the other. So no song has more bass than the other. No song has more treble than the other. So when it plays evenly across the whole album. Another option could be you're mastering for a target delivery like streaming, or you're trying to um, uh, make sure every sound system that it plays on, it sounds balanced. So regardless of how you're doing it, because it's not always the same process. Like mastering for um, a film is different than mastering for TV. Mastering for a CD is different than mastering for vinyl. But the same rules apply in that you're trying to manipulate the audio to fit the target delivery and whatever your goal is with that delivery.
So with that, perfect question I got. So you do a mix in the house, and then you take it to the car, listen to it in the car, and it don't sound the same. What do you do after that when you bring it back to the house?
So, um, here's the question. Are you talking about mastering or are you talking about mixing?
Mixing.
Okay. All right. So if you mix it and then you sounds good on your system in the studio, and you take it to the car and then it doesn't sound as good, you kind of like listen for where the differences are and what makes it sound different, and you make those adjustments to make it balanced so that it sounds even. So maybe it's the bass is hitting right in the studio, but then you go in the car and the bass is too much. You find a balance where it sounds good on both of those. The key thing really, a lot of people love the car test. It's a good thing, but it also can kind of get you in an issue because your car system, you kind of want to learn how a specific system sounds, and you want to reference other audio and like kind of this is how stuff sounds on this system. Stuff that I listen to that I like, this is how that sounds. And so you want to make your stuff sound like that on that system. Because if that song, if you think about it, put it like this: if a song translates across different systems that you listen to, and you hear it in this system, you hear it in that system, here in that system, and every time it sounds good for you, Well, if you pick one system and you kind of make it match with that system and you make it hit the same way on that system that sounds, it should translate as well, because this is how that song that sounds good on all this sounds on everything else. You still want to check on multiple systems, but um to answer your question is just look for the differences and kind of balance it out, double check and check again.
So
What you could do, I'm gonna say one more thing.
okay.
Back in the day, you had to go to the car in the studio, go to the car. We got laptops now, and the system's different. We don't need to have interfaces hooked up like in the back in the day. You can literally just take your laptop out and plug into your car system, and you could mix in the car.
Damn.
So I mean, that's another way that you do. If that's me personally, when I do the car test, I'll take the whole laptop out there and I'll check, make changes in the car.
Because you
I don't
got
I don't sit I don't sit there and make changes on this system and then go listen. Oh man, take notes. That's what I used to do back when I was younger. But now I just literally just take it out there and I make the changes right there and there.
wow, that's dope. Because like for example, if you're using Pro Tools in the house, it's on the laptop. You got your pre-production studio in the house. You go to the car, it's right there. You got your laptop, bam, or whatever you got.
Yeah.
Right?
And then as soon as you make the changes, you could take it right back in and then compare with how did it affect in the studio and find that okay, still sounds good in here. And then go back to the car. Okay, now I got it good in both, so you can that's literally what I do. If you mix outside the box, which you don't, you couldn't do that. But that's one of the many reasons why I choose to mix inside the box instead of outside the box.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
The box is the computer.
Hmm.
So this right here, this is a control surface. So what a control surface is, it's just a remote control of your computer to function like it's a console. It's not an actual console. So there's literally there's two type of consoles. There's a analog console, a digital console, and this isn't a console. This is a control surface to replicate a console. An analog console, sound actually passes through it. A digital console is a emulation of a analog console. And a control surface controls your DAW. And your DAW is an emulation of a digital console. So when you're mixing outside the box, you will be mixing on the actual console. So you have a digital, instead of mixing inside of Pro Tools, you will be mixing on the digital console or the analog console that you have. And you'll be using Pro Tools to record, but you're not mixing in Pro Tools. So Pro Tools is just only playback and record.
Wow. Okay, so we're getting to the end of our show, but I have like so many more questions. So, for example, as an engineer, this is kind of convoluted. As an engineer, when you're going through engineering school, you said back in the day they had lab coats. They were working on analog, correct?
Yeah.
And do you get a training on analog and the reels and all of that? Have you ever recorded anything with those?
So I never recorded two reels. There was training on analog. I mean, I was already using analog. I'm actually started on analog. I'm one of the few that actually it still exists that knows how to mix analog and digital, like in the live sense. Like people today still know how to mix analog in the studio sense, because analog is still considered king and stuff to some degree. But in the live sense, people like it's everything's digital. but we weren't recording to tape, because generally that's not what you're doing. You're not recording the reels, you're usually recording to a DAW. So everything is a hybrid, and there's a lot of things that you can't really do without a computer that's expected of you at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of need a hybrid mix. Now, there are some people they just want to go all the way, and that's another thing too. It's very expensive, so you're going to spend a whole lot of money to record. It's just not feasible in general. So, I don't really see a reason to teach somebody that, because if they already know how to record and mix outside the box, they'll know how to record to tape. They just need access to the equipment. It's kind of like what I was saying earlier about knowing how to use tools you've never used before, and understanding how things work, right? So if you know how to do this, if you really on your craft and you get access to record to tape, you should know how to record to tape. It's literally the same thing. It's just a different playback and record device. Instead of your computer being the recording playback, the reels are recording playback. Everything else is the same.
So thank you for all. That's some good information and insight. We could have more shows. I'll probably have to talk to you on after this to see if we can.
I know you got questions in your head, like, hey, the stream over, but I still gotta get these questions answered.
Right. Because one is as an audio engineer, how do you know you mixed a good record?
So that's not up to the engineer to decide. So if we go back to the architect versus engineer aspect, an audio engineer is there to help the producer create the sound that they're trying to create, right? So I'm not there to make it sound how I want it to sound. I'm there to make it sound how you want it to sound, right? Yes, the engineer and producer can be the same person, in which that case it becomes a whole nother can of worms, because now instead of trying to get close to the client, you're trying to get exactly what the client wants, because it's now in your brain and you know exactly what you want, but now you're reaching for perfect, and that's a whole nother thing, right? But I'll put it to you like this. I'll use doctors as an example. So when you go to a doctor, the doctor can't see inside you, right? They have a lot of knowledge about how the body works. And what they do is they take the information that you they take the knowledge that they have and they apply it based on the information you give them to make an educated guess. An audio engineer is similar, doing the same thing. They have a lot of knowledge about sound, and they're taking the knowledge that they know and they're applying it to manipulate and create a sound that you're aiming for based on the information you give them or the files that are provided to them and how they feel like it should sound and what they got the idea of what you're aiming for. At the end of the day, it's all about what the producer wants. Engineer is just assistants.
That's a good point. Suppose you have the technological knowledge to bring sound to perfection.
Yeah.
Quasi. Yeah. And
which is why but perfection doesn't exist. Which is why when the engineer and the producer is the same person, it becomes kind of crazy, because now you're reaching for perfection because I want it to sound exactly, versus a producer going just like, oh yeah, that's we on the board. They gonna go for close enough, not it's got to be exactly that, because they don't.
Yeah. All right. Well, man, Marquise Patience, thank you for taking the time out to have this engineering conversation with me. I feel like I have learned a little more and also explored a lot more in the world or the language of engineering. I'm sure there's a lot of more like, for example, selecting equipment, uh, laptops, how to keep your stuff updated and all that. I know that's
Yeah.
all imperative. But do you have any last words on engineering before we go?
Yeah, I would say if this is something that you're interested in, uh, the key thing is learn your parameters in your signal flow. Learn how things work. Um, the key thing that you really want to be able to do is when people buy plugins or software and devices that can do everything for you, it's like a magic device and you just put it on, you should be able to know how to build that from scratch. So when they put that setting on and it's like that EQ compressor and all that reverb that came on, you should be like, yeah, that's just an EQ compressor. And okay, well, I got an EQ, I got a compressor. You should know how to set those and make it sound just like, yeah, there you go.
Wow.
They don't know how to do it without that device. The device did it for them. Don't be that person.
Right. Right.
Learn your parameters.
Man. All right. Well, thank you, Marquise Patience. And until the next time, thank you everybody for listening and watching the Antonio Crow Show. Peace.
Peace.